I'm Ali Velshi in for Brian Williams. It's day 221 of the Trump administration, and it brings a crisis for this president at home and abroad, all while he deals with the building pressure from the Russia investigation that this White House cannot seem to shake. We start in southeast Texas, where now Tropical Storm Harvey is still pounding the coast with historic levels of rain, and experts say the storm is just getting started with up to 20 more inches of rain expected. Officials have confirmed that the storm has killed 3 people. More than 2,000 have been rescued. President Trump will visit the area tomorrow. Here's what he said about the storm today.
I want to begin today by extending my thoughts and prayers for those affected by Hurricane Harvey. Right now, the single most important thing is the safety and security of those still in harm's way, including the first responders who have been so terrific and brave. You're going to see very rapid action from Congress, certainly from the president, and you're going to get your funding.
Now, during that same press conference, the president was asked about Russia. Tonight, the White House is dealing with several new headlines about the investigation into Russia's interference in our election and whether the Trump campaign could have been involved.
Mr. Trump, would you consider Russia as a security threat? Thank you.
Well, I consider many countries as a security threat, unfortunately, when you look at what's going on in the world today.
Do you think Finland could be of assistance helping U.S. get better relations with Russia?
Well, I hope that we do have good relations with Russia. I say it loud and clear. I've been saying it for years. I think it's a good thing if we have great relationships, or at least good relationships with Russia. That's very important, and I believe someday that will happen.
If Finland's relationship with Russia were to deteriorate, would the U.S. What kind of assistance would the U.S. be willing to give to Finland bilaterally if we needed it?
Well, as I said before, that our relationship with Finland is a very close one, and we're always ready to help Finland.
But now, in the last 24 hours or so, news organizations have published 3 big new reports about the Russia investigation. First, new tonight, NBC News reports exclusively that Justice Department Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team is asking if Trump tried to hide the purpose of that now famous Trump Tower meeting on June 9th, 2016. They're looking at the statement that Donald Trump Jr. released after the meeting with the Russian attorney and others became public knowledge, and asking how much of it the president wrote. According to the 3 sources, prosecutors want to know what the president knew about the meeting and whether he sought to conceal its purpose. Trump's lawyer called the president's role in crafting the response, quote, minimal. Now, that story comes on the heels of a New York Times report about a Trump associate who boasted that a Moscow business deal, quote, will get Donald elected. The Times obtained copies of emails in which the business associate, Felix Sater, writes, our boy can become president of the USA and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin's team to buy in on this. I will manage the process, end quote. Those messages were reportedly sent to Trump's lawyer, this man, Michael Cohen. The copies do not show whether Cohen responded. Cohen said in a statement to Congress that Sater is prone to, quote, salesmanship. Cohen is also the subject of a third story, a Washington Post report that says Cohen asked for a Putin aide to help out on a business deal. It says, quote, a top executive from Donald Trump's real estate company emailed Vladimir Putin's personal spokesman during the U.S. presidential campaign last year to ask for help advancing a stalled Trump Tower development project in Moscow, according to documents submitted to Congress on Monday. Cohen says the Trump organization has reviewed countless real estate development opportunities. The Moscow proposal was rejected. He added, to the best of his knowledge, Trump was never in contact with anyone about it other than Cohen on 3 different occasions. The Trump organization says it has never had any real estate holdings or interests in Russia. And all of this, as it unfolds, there's new breaking news for this White House to deal with. North Korea fired an unidentified ballistic missile toward Japan this evening. The Prime Minister of Japan called the action reckless, unprecedented, and a significant threat. our leadoff panel tonight. White House Bureau Chief for the Washington Post, Phil Rucker, Boston Herald Chief Washington reporter Kimberly Atkins, and with me here in studio, former Assistant Special Watergate Counsel Attorney Nick Ackerman. Thank you to all of you tonight. Nick, let me start with you. Tonight's NBC News report cites a person familiar with Robert Mueller's strategy saying, quote, even if Trump is not charged with a crime as a result of the statement, it could be useful to Mueller's team to show Trump's conduct to a jury that may be considering other charges. Put this into context.
Well, I think what he's talking about is looking at the whole picture. When you're a prosecutor and you're trying to show somebody's motive, their intent, whether or not they're engaged in a pattern of activity, you try and put all of this together so that the jury has before it the entire picture. What you have here is an entire picture of deception and lying from day one, where Donald Trump has denied any business interests in Russia, has denied any involvement with any of the Russians, but yet, as the evidence has come out, he's been, during the campaign, working on a project to try and get a Trump Tower in Moscow. There's a meeting in Trump Tower where his son and his son-in-law attended, where they were trying to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. So as all of this comes out, you're starting to get a picture of what occurred. And that's what a prosecutor wants to present to a jury.
Kimberly, to put a finer point in this, Donald Trump has been denying for some time that he has any knowledge of anyone on his campaign having anything to do with Russia. In a conversation with Julie Pace in February, a reporter, here's what happened.
Can you say whether you are aware that anyone who advised your campaign had contacts with Russia during the course of the election?
Well, I told you, General Flynn obviously was dealing, so that's one person, but he was dealing as he should have been.
During the election?
No, nobody that I know of. Nobody.
So you're not aware of any contacts during the course of the election?
How many times do I have to answer this question?
Can you just say
Russia
yes or no
is a ruse. Yeah, I know you have to get up and ask a question, so important. Russia is a ruse. I have nothing to do with Russia. Haven't made a phone call to Russia in years. Don't speak to people from Russia. Not that I wouldn't, I just have nobody to speak to. I spoke to Putin twice. He called me on the election, I told you this, and he called me on the inauguration a few days ago. I have nothing to do with Russia. To the best of my knowledge, no person that I deal with does.
Kimberly, that was February. It was pretty strenuous. No person that I deal with has anything to do with Russia.
Yes, he's been denying not only that neither he nor anyone in his circle have been in contact with Russia, but he denied that he had any business dealings with Russia at all. And we've learned now that there was an at least attempt to create a deal for a Trump Tower in Moscow. So he's constantly contradicting himself on this. And I think that's probably one reason why that Robert Mueller is interested in looking at exactly what he said, what role he played. I mean, sometimes, as they say, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. We don't know if there's either. We have to wait for Robert Mueller's report. But if there is evidence of some sort of obstruction, that's certainly something that will be very high on Robert Mueller's interest list.
Philip Rucker, your newspaper broke a story about business dealings of the Trump Organization in Moscow, and the president has shown great disdain for any part of this investigation, including that part which may involve Russian interference in the election. But he has said very clearly that Robert Mueller, looking into his private financial dealings, would be crossing some sort of red line. Looks like that's what Robert Mueller is doing.
That's exactly right. You know, look, there clearly were business dealings between the Trump Organization and Russia during the course of this campaign. That's almost certainly going to drive the interest of Robert Mueller. I imagine it'll give the Mueller team an excuse to dig even deeper into the Trump Organization, to scrutinize those finances, find out if there were any other meetings, perhaps even go back earlier in the calendar before the campaign to look at earlier efforts to do business in Russia. This is all going to become part of this investigation, and that makes the president very nervous. But the importance of the new reporting out today is that it actually documents for the first time a senior-level Trump advisor, Michael Cohen. He's an executive at the Trump Organization. He's a lawyer there, but he's also been a political advisor to the president for many years before this campaign. It details him reaching out directly to Putin's advisor, to his spokesperson in the government.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.